Hello people, today we're going to talk about the pull-up. I think it's one of the best exercises that a human being can do. It's brilliant for developing your back muscles and also it just looks pretty badass, right? First things first, the prerequisites. I think there's only one, and that is that you must be able to dead hang for 30 seconds. If you can hang and support your body weight for 30 seconds, then I think you're ready to start your pull-up journey. Now you may still have a very long way to go, but I think you're strong enough to start. We're going to really simplify things and we're going to split people up into two categories. So we're going to have people that can't do pull-ups and people that can do at least one or more pull-ups. If you're on the side of people that can't do pull-ups, we're going to start over there. And now there's nothing to be ashamed of, right? You actually have quite a lot to look forward to. When you get your first pull-up, it's an amazing feeling, and pull-up number 2 and 3 don't nearly feel as good. If you're just hanging off the bar and hoping that you're going to go up, nothing's going to happen, right? You need to build up strength, and you need to build up specific strength that's going to help translate over to the pull-up. So there's 3 exercises I'm going to give you. Bloody, I can't speak today. Exercises. But there's 3 exercises I'm going to give you. Exercise number 1 is scapular pulls. So scapular pulls is the most beginner friendly exercise for people trying to learn the pull-up. Most important thing here is that we are trying to be intentional with what we're doing. It's not a fast twitching motion. We're trying to move slow and controlled, and we're also trying to work in a full range of motion. When you're doing scapular pulls, really squeeze at the top and then sink all the way down right at the bottom. Some people, when starting out, they might bend their arms a little bit. Now, depending on when you do this, right, if you're bending your arms right off the bat and you're sort of just pulling with your arms and your biceps, then obviously that's not good. But if you're engaging your scapulars, and just because as you're trying to get a little bit more height, your arms bend, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. Just be cognizant of the fact that you're trying to keep your arms straight and you're trying to initiate the movement with your scapula. And now I want you to try aim for a rep range of 6 to 10 reps. If you get to rep 5 and the control starts to just dip as you're more fatigued, it's also not the end of the world, but aim for 6 to 10 reps as slow and controlled as possible for 3 sets. So exercise number 1, scapular pulls. Exercise number 2 is going to be inverted rows or Australian pull-ups, whichever one you prefer. The cool thing about this is if you have an awesome setup, you can vary the height, which is either going to make the exercise way harder or way easier. With this, the same as the scapular pulls, work in a full range of motion. Make sure you're locking your elbows out at the bottom and squeezing your back at the top. Also aim for 6 to 10 reps. If you can't get to 6 reps slow and controlled, then just increase the height, lower the body weight that you're pulling, and just make it a little bit easier. And then over time, you can go lower and lower to the floor. And then the last exercise I'm going to give you is negative pull-ups. When you're doing negative pull-ups, have control at the top. So you're obviously jumping up onto the top of the bar or climbing up if you have to. Get control. And then as slow and as exaggerated as you can, you're going to lower yourself down while keeping your back engaged to that hanging position. Personally, I prefer to work in a 1 to 3 rep range for this as opposed to like a 6 to 10, and just trying to be as intentionally slow as possible. But because we're working in a 1 to 3 rep range, I also like to do a bit more sets. So instead of doing 3 sets, I would aim for 4 to 5 sets to maybe even 6 sets if you feel up for it. Also, how to structure your training as a beginner, right? Do a little warm-up, a little activation drill, then start with the hardest, which is going to be the negative pull-ups. After you've done your negative pull-up sets, you can move on to scapular pulls, and then lastly the inverted rows. If you want, you're also more than welcome to do a little bit of accessory work after that. So you could do some lat pull downs or hammer curls or bicep curls, but I would recommend doing a bit of core work. I'd recommend doing this 2 times a week. If you want, you could up it to 3 times, but just make sure that you can recover from the volume. I would do this right for 4 weeks in a row, and every week you're going to try improve on the workout. And what I mean by that is either you're going to do the movements more controlled, more slow, or you're going to increase the reps, or you're going to increase the sets. Either volume or the intensity is going to increase, but you're going to do that for 4 weeks, right, in a row, and then we can go for what I'm going to call the pull-up test. Quick little side note before we get into the pull-up test. If you're serious about getting good at pull-ups, and you're also serious about just getting good at calisthenics in general, I think it's crucial that you invest in getting bands. They're seriously awesome and they come in handy a lot, and they're going to help you a lot. Just make sure you get decent quality and not like these plastic ones that have zero give and just will snap. So yeah, it's really worth buying some bands. When I started doing pull-ups, I did not have bands. I have gotten pretty good at pull-ups. However, I've been training for a long time, and if I had bands when I was starting out, I think I would have improved way faster. A lot of the people I do work with, I get them to use bands, and their pull-ups have skyrocketed way faster than mine ever did. To get into the pull-up test, right, you've done your 4 weeks of sticking to those basic exercises and drills. Now what I want you to do, you're going to start with the heaviest band. Obviously, if you can't pull the band down to step on it, it's too heavy. Okay, there's no point doing that. Normally there should be, if you get like a good band, there'll be like 3 or 4 bands that are going to be more than easy enough if you loop it over the bar to pull down. So you're going to pull down, step in the middle. Just make sure, once again, this is going to be more important now that you keep your legs tight. Otherwise you're going to have one of those very embarrassing mishaps. Start with the heaviest band, start at a dead hang, and just see if you can do one single pull-up. Okay, if that's a success, you're going to move on to a band with lesser resistance until you get to a band with the fewest or the least resistance. If you can do a single pull-up nice and clean, then you can take a nice long rest and then go for your body weight. If you fail and you can't do body weight, it's not the end of the world. Just take it back, work on those basic exercises again, do another 4-week cycle of trying to get better at them. Maybe also introduce a few more accessory exercises, a few more back strengthening things like normal rows, lat pull down, stuff like that, until you're strong enough to do pull-ups, at least one pull-up without a band. But if you were able to do a pull-up with the band, then that is going to start to become your primary exercise when you start training. It's the most specific, so that's why we're going to make that our first exercise we're going to do. So then you would sort of repeat the 4-week cycle, except instead of starting with negative pull-ups, you're going to start with doing band-assisted pull-ups, and then sort of go through the process again until you kind of get one pull-up without a band, just pure body weight. And now we're at a point where we can do at least one pull-up. And this is where the fun begins, right? There's 2 kind of main philosophies here, and depending on what your goals are and your lifestyle, like how much time you have available, is going to maybe determine which approach you take. So there's the people that want to train to failure and beyond, and then there's the people that treat strength like a skill. So training to failure and beyond, let me explain this approach first. How it sort of works is you're going to be training in drop sets. 2 different examples, someone that can do 1 pull-up, only 1 body weight, and someone that can do 10. If you can do 1 pull-up, how it's going to work is at the start of your session, you're going to do 1 pull-up, and immediately afterwards you're going to add a band for assistance, and you can do as much pull-ups as you can. Maybe you only get 1 or 2. Then you can add a heavier band, same thing, do as many pull-ups as you can, maybe you get 2 or 3. Then you'll switch to inverted rows, rep out as much as you can, and at the end, if you wanted to, you could also do like an isometric hold and just hold at the top. You're pretty much burning out, going from the hardest variation of a pull-up to the easiest, and then after that you would rest, take a decent rest, and then maybe do 2 or 3 sets like that. Someone that can do 10 pull-ups, if you can do 10 pull-ups plus, I highly recommend starting to do weighted pull-ups. So what it would look like is you'd start with maybe a 5 kilogram or 10 kilogram weight added to you, do as many pull-ups as you can. Then as soon as you fail, switch over to bodyweight pull-ups, then a band, and then inverted rows or a heavier band if you wanted to. I always normally would recommend having 4 different levels of variations in between. That's the infinity and beyond. Infinity, Josh, bloody hell. Why do I have Buzz Lightyear in my head? That is the training to failure and beyond approach. So very time efficient. You just have to embrace the burn there. Moving on to treating strength like a skill. My brain. So moving on to that, so to just break it down, right, let's just talk about what that means. If you want to get good at a skill, ideally you want to practice it as much as possible. But now when there's a strength element added to that skill, it becomes a little bit tricky and a bit complicated because we have to obviously make sure we can still recover. How do we do that? Well, we avoid training to failure. So we're also going to use an analogy here. We're going to have person A and person B. So person A goes into the gym, and both of these people, okay, they want to get over 10 pull-ups. They're struggling to get over 10 pull-ups, and that's their goal. So person A goes into the gym, and on his first set, he maxes out. He does 10 pull-ups. Then he rests, he goes for set number 2, and because he obviously maxed out, he's a bit fatigued, he maybe only gets 6 pull-ups. Then he goes for set number 3, he's even more fatigued, and he hits maybe just say 4. Over that whole pull-up session, he's done 20 pull-ups. Now, person B goes into the gym, and instead of maxing out, he can also only do 10 pull-ups max, right? But instead of maxing out and hitting 10, he only does 5 pull-ups. Then he rests, he does 5 again. He rests, he does 5 again. Because he's not hitting failure, he still feels relatively fresh, has a bit of energy, and he can sort of choose if he wants to do more sets. So maybe he does 2 more sets of 5. So in total, over his session now, he's accumulated 25 pull-ups. If you like do 2 training sessions of pull-ups a week and you add it up, person B would have done 10 more reps than person A. The idea is just accumulating volume. This can also work at any level. If you're someone that can only do 1 pull-up, that's where bands will start to become very crucial, because bands are going to help control the intensity and help you to get more reps in. So there's no like magic or specific number, but you want to hit somewhere near 20. You could go up to like 35 if you want, if you have that amount of time to spend in the gym, but you want to accumulate a lot of volume and actually practice the skill. You're treating strength like a skill. I like to do pull-ups on 2 days. Monday we're doing 3 sets of 3 with 40 kilograms weighted pull-ups. So, okay, I'm just talking for me now, someone that can do weighted pull-ups. Then on Thursday or Friday we'll use just 20 kilograms weighted, and we'll do 6 sets of 6 reps. So we understand the basic concept now behind treating strength like a skill. We're just trying to accumulate volume and practice the skill as much as we can while still positively adapting to the stress we're applying on our body. If you can only do 10 reps, and your goal is to get more than 10, you're just stuck at that number. So what I'd recommend is for 6 to 8 weeks, preferably 8 weeks, you're going to be doing 2 sessions a week. Your first workout, your first week of your 8-week cycle, on Monday you're doing 3 times 3 with 5 kilograms. So you can do 10 bodyweight pull-ups, you're doing 3 times 3 with an extra 5 kilograms. Then on Thursday or Friday you're doing 5 times 5 with your body weight. Every week you're going to try a little bit progressive overload. And how do we do that? It's very simple. We either add another set, we add another rep, or we increase the weight. If you don't improve, then you don't need to increase. It doesn't need to be a week by week thing, but we're going to attempt to do it week by week. And after that 8-week cycle of progressive overloading and trying to do a little bit more, accumulating more volume, you can go for a pull-up test where you just do an AMRAP on your first workout back, and the chances are you're going to absolutely obliterate your 10 rep old PB. Most people just are a bit lazy and they don't want to do the whole progressive overloading, or they're too embarrassed because they do something, say they can do 10 pull-ups, and then they don't want to let people see them the next week only doing 5. They feel it's for what, I don't understand it, but they feel embarrassed about it. Sorry, that was a very convoluted, very all over the place video, but I hope you sort of got some sort of information out of this that will help you on your pull-up journey. But like always, if you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. But all the best. If you stick with it, if you stay patient, and if you train smart and properly, you will become a master of pull-ups. Anyways, cheers, all the best.